Hi everyone, this is Paul here from the Magazine Centre. Today I'm doing the astrology report for the month of June, highlighting some of the key themes and aspects taking place this month and outlining what they mean for us. Before I do that though, I just want to clarify, as I always do, that the astrology itself doesn't control us in any way, shape or form. It's just a map of to help us understand what the energies around are doing, what themes are highlighting and how they can potentially manifest. But how they manifest within our own lives is entirely dependent on how we choose to act and whether we choose to be responsive to things rather than reactive. Now, in terms of the themes for June, it's very much a month of two halves. The first half, there aren't necessarily any major changes taking place, but we'll have the sun moving through Gemini throughout the first 3 weeks of the month, and this is a time where it shines a light on our perceptions, our thinking, our communication, and how open-minded we are. And it deals very much with the rational mind, so we're looking at some of the questions mainly to ask ourselves during this period is, how open-minded are we? How good are we at communicating our perspectives? And equally, how good are we at listening to other people so we actually understand what that person's saying and that we're listening to understand rather than listening to respond. So communication and our perceptions are going to be a key highlight this month. But with Gemini being a mutable sign, it's also about learning to be adaptable and changeable and to be able to adjust to new circumstances rather than trying to make things go down a fixed path. Because during the first couple of weeks or so of June, the sun will be making a lot of aspects to planets either in Capricorn or Jupiter and Scorpio. So these aspects are quite uncomfortable. They're generally aspects of spiritual alchemy because it's trying to get oil and water to mix. Because the two energies of Gemini and versus Capricorn or Scorpio, they have nothing in common with one another, and we may have experiences coming in from the other signs that challenge our perceptions or challenge our understanding of things, and highlight to us how open-minded we actually are or how clearly we actually perceive things. Because it's all very well and good having any kind of spiritual perception, we also need to be careful that we're not deluding ourselves or anything like that. And with the square with Neptune, during this period as well, this would be a major time of really evaluating our perceptions and making sure that the way we're seeing things is clear and how things are rather than how we wish they were based on who we are. Now, the first key date will be the 13th, which is when we have the new moon in Gemini. So the new moon is an opportunity for us to do things a new way, to elevate the functioning of Gemini, so we're not just operating at its lower end where we have rigid thinking or we're two-faced, we say one thing but do another or mean another. And it's also an opportunity to make sure that the way we communicate, because sometimes it's not what we're saying that puts people off, it's the way we say it. So this may also be an opportunity for us to see how can we develop or to deliver our words in a more tactful way or more empathetic way, so that we're not trying to communicate in a harsh way or cold or completely matter of fact. It's about delivering the message in a way that isn't hurtful and gives the other person an opportunity to see things another way. How they choose to respond or react is their choice, but if we're trying to speak the truth through in a loving kind of way, if the other person doesn't accept it, that's their choice. But as long as we stick to the truth and don't try to lie about things or weave webs of deceit, then we'll be okay ourselves. The next event will be on the 18th. This is when Neptune turns retrograde and will not turn direct again until November. Neptune retrograde is a time where the veils of illusion become very thin, so the conscious mind or the ego barrier becomes very porous to spiritual energy. And the key thing here is we need to make sure that we develop the spiritual strength within ourselves rather than trying to be rescued from ourselves by other people. So part of it is It's a time of spiritual truth as such. So some of the illusions around us that we cling to start to become very porous or very thin. We start to realise that things may not be as they seem, but this is also an opportunity for us to raise the vibration of ourselves and the environment around us, because with everything being so thin spiritually, so very few veils of illusion compared to when Neptune is direct, our energy has a much greater impact on the environment around us. It's very important for us to focus on the energy that we're putting out and making sure that whatever we're doing is aligned with truth and is guided by love and wisdom, not fear and division. So this is an opportunity for us. I'll do another video on it, obviously, because there's too much to go through, but essentially Neptune retrograde is an opportunity for us to see how well or how much spiritual strength we've developed and how resilient we are against the energies around us, because we're all influenced by the collective energy. None of us are completely immune to it. However, if we develop that spiritual strength within us through spiritual practice, through spending time alone periodically, it may just be for a few minutes each day, but essentially it's time to ourselves so that we get to know ourselves better and separate our energy from, or distinguish what is actually our energy and what isn't, so that we can develop a much stronger spiritual self, as it were. The next event is the 21st. This is the sun moving into Cancer, so this will be a major change in the collective focus from looking at our perceptions and looking at the way we communicate to our feeling nature and the core of who we are. So it's going within. So we're no longer looking outside ourselves for answers. It's taking that inward journey, exploring our emotions, exploring where we limit ourselves by holding on to past conditioning. Where do we still hold the emotional imprint from stuff from the past that we need to let go of? So the sun in Cancer is an opportunity for us to transform our emotional side, to transform our relationship with our past, and to clear that past out through feeling the emotions but not getting dragged along by them. It's like standing on the bank of a river. The river, i.e. the emotions, is flowing smoothly and we can see it, but we're not dragged along the river. The river isn't flooding its banks, nor is it dammed up in any way. So the emotions aren't suppressed, nor are they overwhelming. They're flowing in that confined way, but they're still flowing naturally. And it's also an opportunity for us to face our past, as it were. Assume there's anything from the past that's currently undermining our present, as it were. This doesn't mean that we should be dwelling in the past every single day, because we're not. If we're doing that, we're not going to be focused on moving forwards. We can understand ourselves better through seeing where we're holding on to conditioning, especially from childhood, and whereby if we let go of it, we can then give nurturing much more freely, and we're less likely to be of a tribal kind of mind. It's more about giving love unconditionally and tapping into that universal mother kind of consciousness, which is what Cancer represents. After that, on the 26th, Mars goes retrograde, so this is a time where we may find it harder to take action in the world, but the main focus needs to be on re-evaluating our actions and desires altogether. This doesn't mean that we undermine ourselves or we question the wisdom we're doing, or rather, it doesn't mean that we just stop taking action or we just give up on anything. But we need to be mindful of what desires are we actually pursuing, what actions are we taking, are these actions and desires actually good for us, or do they actually undermine the higher goals we set for ourselves? Because we all, at the end of the day, I think most of us do want to achieve something big in life, but for that to happen we need to become more disciplined in our actions and desires, and this means that we need to understand where do we get sidetracked by egoic impulses, and also Mars is about our relationship with anger. So how do we feel anger, how do we express anger, and how can we become better at asserting ourselves through changing our relationship with anger. This doesn't mean we start projecting it onto other people or we stop becoming angry altogether, because anger naturally happens when an injustice occurs, but it's about not acting on the anger. It's understanding the reason behind that anger and then asserting ourselves clearly and objectively based on the reasoning behind it. So it's going past the anger to the root cause of things and then asserting ourselves lovingly, I might add. It's important that we don't start putting people down or being aggressive about it, but it's about identifying the source of our anger rather than just acting on it in the moment, and then seeing how can we take a different path, how can we take a more loving way of asserting ourselves rather than just lashing out in anger and potentially perpetuating old behavioural patterns between ourselves and others. And the final date for the month is the 28th, when we have the full moon in Capricorn. Because this is an opportunity for us to balance our internal world and our external. It's the subjective, i.e. Cancer, versus the objective, Capricorn. And it's looking to see how well do we actually show our true self in the public realm. How do we wear a mask in public, or are we being true to who we are? So it's a case of what you see is what you get. So it's very much about integrity, in other words. So do we stay true to who we are, or do we hustle for self-worth? Do we hustle to get a sense of belonging? I.e., do we give up our true self in favour of putting on a mask and pretending to be something that we're not in order to feel like we belong somewhere? Because the thing is, true belonging can only occur if we're being our true selves, because otherwise people won't know who we are and we won't feel that sense of true belonging because we're not being accepted for who we are. It's our mask that's being accepted by this group, and we may feel like we're part of a group as such, but we're not being true to who we are, so we still have that underlying insecurity. So the full moon is an opportunity to focus on being true to who we are rather than wearing masks in social situations, and making sure that whatever goals we're pursuing in life are actually aligned with who we are and not just a prescribed route that we've been advised is good but won't actually give us that true fulfillment because it's not who we are. So there's a lot to take on board there for June, but it's an opportunity for us to go through significant transformation, and it's an opportunity for us to face the different dualities in life and face the different areas which conflict with one another, and seeing how can we adapt to it, how can we rise above the tensions in the different areas, and how can we, through spiritual alchemy and knowing ourselves, how can we get these areas to work together rather than having to try and compartmentalise different areas of life so that neither area actually gets transformed. So June is an opportunity for us all to do that spiritual alchemy, to work on ourselves, to make sure we're engaging in spiritual disciplines so that when Neptune does go retrograde, we're not overwhelmed by the collective energies. We have still maintain a strong sense of who we are, but we seek that spiritual strength within us now. We're not looking to try and get it off other people. So may June bring you much growth and transformation. Take care and be blessed.